This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight now, we bring you a discussion on environmental issues on the occasion of World Environment Day 2020. The participants are Dr. C.K. Varshne, environmentalist, and AIR correspondent Shantanu Pratap Singh.
Dr. Varshne, the World Environment Day was first celebrated in 1974, almost 46 years ago. Do you think that there has been a change in the awareness about environment over this time?
This World Environment Day signifies a very important event which took place in 1972, where the UN conference on Stockholm took place, which was the first global event to awaken the world about the issues of environment and human welfare. And it was started on 5th of June and ended on after 2 weeks. No, there has been a lot of change, and this kind of celebration of World Environment Day has brought the general public into awareness and into realizing the significance of environment for welfare as well as well-being. And this has been a great movement, and I should say this is an international platform that has been created for experts to share their views in a language and in a manner which the average person can appreciate and understand. The idea is that everyone should behave and conduct so that they understand their relationship with the environment, and also they develop a feeling as well as a respect for environment and protect it and really see that its pollution and its overexploitation and its degradation is prevented to the extent. It has certainly created awareness which never existed, and it is only the lack of awareness which has led to widespread degradation of the environment, be at a rural or a city level or a urban level. Everywhere this kind of ignorance and this kind of poor understanding has been the main reason for environmental degradation, both of the aquatic area as well as terrestrial as well as marine. And this is something which has caused a lot of difficulties in terms of public health, in terms of recurring problems of climate change, as well as floods and drought and landslides. In fact, kind of implications have been so different and at so different intensity, frequency, that a large amount of public money, property, infrastructure, and human life has been lost to this.
The theme for this year's World Environment Day is biodiversity. So what is the significance of biodiversity for humanity in general?
Biodiversity is a generic term to address the entire different varieties of plants and animals which exist on this earth, irrespective of their size and irrespective of their behavior, which includes or which encompasses the minute cells which are submicroscopic to the large organisms like whales in the marine environment, to elephant and to giant tortoise. So all these in their entire population, and plants and animals, all kinds of plants, the microscopic plants, the algae, the fungi, the trees, the shrubs, herbs, everything put together, and all their population, not names, is not the inventory of names, but all their population. Because if they neem tree, there are many neem trees. So all these neem trees, all the people trees, all the types, all put together, this is known as biodiversity. And this biodiversity is a very unique feature of our planet in the sense that air, water, and soil. And it is through the biodiversity that the solar energy is able to flow on this earth, which is a very significant, fundamental, and a vital process that is accomplished through biodiversity, which is responsible for providing food to human beings and to all living organisms. So biodiversity is the underpinning of all life on this earth, and therefore it is very important. That is number one. The other important feature of this biodiversity is that it provides a kind of mechanism by which it is capable of maintaining ecological balance. Now, this is a term which is often used, and people use it without understanding it. But let me just explain it, what we mean by ecological balance. For example, you go and carry all kinds of things in order to survive if you are leaving your hometown to some other station. You carry your clothing and you carry your toiletries and so on and so forth. But you never carry some of the most essential things. For example, air. For example, drinking water. And you think that it is available wherever you will go. Now, who manages and who arranges this? This is the nature which arranges it. And behind this is the hard-working biodiversity. Each individual, plants and animals put together everything. And I will give you another example. Anywhere and everywhere you go, you are breathing. You are taking good air in your lungs and throwing bad air out. Kind of air which you cannot retain in your body. Now, this air gets processed. Every time and everywhere you get fresh air. Now, who is there who is refining this air and providing you and assuring you that you will get fresh air to breathe? Now, this is all done with the help of biodiversity. Microorganisms, which are green plants, algae, which you can't see with the eye, and the giant trees with green leaves. So all these green leaves are doing a great magic by which they take away all the poisonous gas that I, you, tiger, and the rat and mice, they are throwing continuously, non-stop, globe over, and they are really using it and converting it back to an air full of oxygen, which is very healthy and which is very invigorating, that we are breathing with complete assurance of quality. Now, all this is being done by biodiversity.
Moving on to India's role in environment conservation globally, India has hosted the Conference of Parties for the Convention on Migratory Species in February this year. And we are supposed to host the first UN conference on biodiversity, which has been postponed now. It was supposed to be held later this year. We have a natural strength in that we have 7% of world species, close to 8%, and 4 biodiversity hotspots. So do you see India playing a proactive role globally in environment conservation and preservation of biodiversity?
India is disproportionately rich in biodiversity, and this is a very fortunate thing for us. And the reason for that is very simple, that from Kanyakumari to the high altitudes in Himalayas, we have got so many different type of landforms, climates, availability of the soil types, slopes, and the kind of substratum, that is rocks, that are available, and these type of soils that are available, makes it and provides us so many different type of combination of these, that we have got so many different habitats, different climate, with different soil, with different equipment, or with different plants and animals. And all this really provides so much diversity. So I think we are very fortunate to have this, and it is something that we should really rejoice. But we have not yet realized the true meaning and the wealth that it provides to us. So we are biodiversity rich, but we are idea poor about our biodiversity, how to exploit it. You see, the global wealth is primarily dependent upon biodiversity. The India was supposed to be in history known as the Sone ki Chidiya, or the golden bird. And we were very rich, and we were one of the richest in terms of technology as well as in terms of wealth. And the reason was that we were exporting whole range of these spices, which have got such a protective role and which are so health-giving and which are so beautiful in terms of health support, that world over they were being used. So I think biodiversity provides livelihood, biodiversity provides a new culture, biodiversity sets in new tradition, biodiversity creates history. I think biodiversity is very fundamental for our civilization, and it really provides the underpinning for the progress we have made so far, and it is a resource which we will continue to use in future. But at the same time, without investment and without our planning, the biodiversity, if kept intact, help us in more than one way. In fact, in many ways. It ensures safety, it ensures our economic prosperity, it provides us health, and it really makes the life and the environment and the landscape so enchanting and lovely that the artist gets encouraged to make excellent paintings, and the poets give their best because they are so excited, and it is so peaceful and so encouraging that the good poetry, the good literature all emanate out of the biodiversity. So I think these are some of the values which need to be propagated, which people made to learn and get sensitized about biodiversity, its value and its importance for our lives and for the lives of our future generations.
Dr. Varshney, you've spoken about the new ideas and planning. So discussing one new idea, which is part of a scheme launched today, which is rooted in African traditions, the Union Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Prakash Javadekar ji, launched an urban forest scheme today to develop 200 Nagar 1s across the country in the next 5 years. Now, I think, what do you think it is to integrate such planning for biodiversity conservation and forests into our urban planning?
First of all, it's a very good idea because our urban life is becoming very drab and there is a lot of stress on urbanites. So in order to remove that tension, it is very good that we have got some kind of these tree lots growing within the urban confines where people can come, go there and relax. Going to a forest is a great stress buster and it really takes away much of your strain without ever your knowing. They provide in situ oxygen, which is one of the important things. So they are the oxygen factories, which are very important for the environmental pollution with which our urban centers are suffering increasingly. And more importantly is that going to a forest and remaining in contact with the vegetation or green leaves or trees is something which really adds to your health and to your mental satisfaction. And it has been shown scientifically that association and closeness with trees is a health-giving proposal. And in Japan and other places, there is a prevalent practice now, increasingly, from the people who go and sit under the tree, hug the tree, which is something that helps them to get some health benefits. And this has a number of other advantages. So I think that because of the climate change, urban environment or urban areas suffer from heat island effect. And once you have trees, then because of the shade, the stress of the heat and the stress of the heat stroke gets very much minimized. And the urban areas do not heat up as much as when there are no trees and only roads and asphalt, black asphalt, which really becomes so hot and provides a kind of a situation which becomes unbearable and heat becomes so intolerable. Yeah. These trees also attract birds and many other wildlife. So a tree is not a tree alone, but a tree is the entire, I should say, a small congregation or some kind of a small village of wildlife, where the insects and mites and squirrels and this kind. So I think this is a very interesting thing. And if we cut any tree, we are not cutting a tree because sometimes they say that we have given permission to cut the tree. And I think it's a very poor statement. In fact, it must be assessed that these trees, when they go, along with this, how much biodiversity also goes. So I think that tree, we are not only cutting the trees, but we are really, without killing, we are killing a large number and a wide variety and a huge number of other living organisms.
We are facing a global pandemic right now with coronavirus. So with coronavirus, such a global pandemic, do you think there is a risk that climate change and environment conservation will fall down the priority list for a lot of governments when it comes to quick solutions for growth and it might be compromised?
It is very difficult to say, but I must say that this kind of a problem or pandemic that we are having should not and must not deter us to work hard in protecting and conserving biodiversity and taking all efforts to contain climate change. Because climate change is such a long-term phenomena and such a widespread in real sense because it is not going to affect human health. COVID-19 affects only human health. But the climate change affects not only the human health, not only our life physically, but it stresses our food source, it stresses animals, it stresses trees, it stresses plants, it stresses that kind of a system which nature has provided to really ensure a safe, healthy, and a well-being environment. So I think the climate change effects are far more wider, far more deeper, far more intense, and far more important than COVID-19. COVID-19 is restricted to one species, Homo sapiens. Rest are all safe. But climate change across the board affects all. So I think that we have to simultaneously, as we can, to contain climate change.
Thank you so much for joining us for this discussion, Dr. Varshney.
Thank you so much.
You were listening to a discussion on environmental issues on the occasion of World Environment Day 2020. The participants were Dr. C.K. Varshney, environmentalist, and AIR correspondent Shantanu Pratap Singh. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app News on AIR. This program is also available on our website newsonair.com. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsttalks@gmail.com.